They say that the ear remembers things the mind wants to forget. Sitting on that old wooden bench, the auditorium's fluorescent lights humming above, my hands trembling in my lap, that truth rang louder than any applause ever could. Back then, I only wanted one thing, to be understood, just once, by the people whose faces I saw in the mirror every morning. My mother's hazel eyes, my father's sharp cheekbones, my sister's smirk hiding in the corner of her lips. The jury watched from their desk. All 5 of them, senior composers and professors from Universidade Federal do Paraná. Not a smile among them. Behind me, my classmates shift. On it was my piece. 7 minutes of ambient sound. Field recordings of bustling Rua 15 de Novembro, woven with piano chords and the hum of buses. Not a melody you'd sing along to. No virtuosic flourishes. Just sound. Atmosphere. I knew it was unconventional, but in my mind, it captured the restless pulse of the city better than any classical etude. I stood, throat dry, knees as unsteady as cheap music stands. My mother's voice from last night echoed. Why can't you play something beautiful, like real music? I walked to the front, plugged the USB into the jury's laptop. As I bent over, my white shirt pulled tight across my back, sweat dampening my collar. My heart thudded as loudly as the opening bus whoosh in my piece. I hit play. The room fell silent. Far too silent. My breaths filled my ears in the first 30 seconds. Murmured Portuguese rippled through the crowd. An uncle muttered, "Isso aí é arte? Is this art?" My cousin giggled a sharp adolescent snicker. I stared at the program on the screen, afraid to meet the jury's eyes. City noise, footsteps, snippets of street musicians, a dog barking, all layered in and out. To me, it was beautiful. A mosaic of my neighborhood, my city breathing. To them, it was chaos. I felt it, tightening around me, each second longer than the last. Halfway through, a cell phone vibrated somewhere, drawing a harsher glare from one of the professors than my piece did. A kid yawned, his little legs swinging beneath the seat. When it finally ended, there was a long, suffocating silence. No applause. Just the clearing of throats, the shifting of bodies. A juror with half-moon spectacles folded his arms and spoke. That was certainly unique. He struggled with the word like it burned his tongue. I forced a polite nod. Afterward, as I gathered my things, my sister nudged me, whispering, maybe next time try, Bach? The walk home was brutal. The December drizzle had started, misting the city in a gray sadness. At dinner, my family barely spoke. My father finally said, "Você é inteligente, mas quem vai pagar contas com barulho?" You're smart, but who pays bills with noise? My mother wiped her hands on a towel, eyes fixed on the kitchen floor. She could have at least played that Chopin piece. Anger pulsed in my chest. It wasn't fair. No one wanted to understand. They wanted comfort music they could hum in the car, not something that asked them to listen, to really listen. I told them they didn't get it. My father waved me off. "Ela vai acabar trabalhando na padaria do Jorge." My aunt said later, "She'll end up working in George's bakery." That night, I lay in my darkness-strangled room, the window cracked so I could hear the drizzle. Even the rain sounded distant, as if the world already moved on. A tiny voice remained. Maybe they were right. Maybe I would never belong, not to their world or any other. Over the next 2 years, I clung to what scraps of dignity remained. Classical piano recitals became less frequent, replaced by nights hunched over cheap headphones, twisting knobs, layering sounds, glass breaking in the alley, static from busted radios, a baby's giggle echoing from across the hall. My family called it a hobby, hoped it was a phase. They mocked me gently at first. "A new track tonight?" My sister would jab during dinner. Did you record the neighbor's dog barking again? When my demo reel was rejected by a local game studio, the house was so quiet I could hear my own shame. But I kept going. Failure had its own kind of gravity. The world expects you to slip into the steady orbit of their expectations. To get a job, buy a car, date someone proper, show off at family gatherings. Resisting that meant constant friction, sleepless nights. I started taking freelance gigs. Editing podcasts with questionable audio, cleaning hiss from college interviews, mixing background scores for indie filmmakers who paid in exposure and thank yous. It was unglamorous and endless, but I learned. Each crackle I clipped out, each heartbeat I layered in, made me better, a little more confident, a little less apologetic. My breakthrough, as much as I hate that word, came without warning or ceremony. One night, a filmmaker named Marcos messaged me on a sound design forum. "I heard your Curitiba ambient stuff. Need you for a doc." He sent over raw video, interviews with street vendors, city sounds, chaos and shouts, a portrait of the city no tourist would ever see. I dove in, working past dawn, headphones digging into my scalp. I layered subway rumbles, church bells, laughter. I blended the noise of the city with the voices of its people until it shimmered alive. When the film was screened at a local festival, nobody booed. People clapped. People felt it. I started to get more work, small contract after small contract. Some gigs paid, others just connected me to people who valued what I did. I left my parents' house for a tiny apartment over a bakery on Rua Trajano Reis. Some nights when the kitchen closed, I'd sneak down and record the clatter of pans, the rumble of dough mixers. I sent my tapes everywhere, São Paulo ad agencies, Rio production houses, anyone who'd listen. I stopped going home for Sunday dinners. Each phone call home was the same. "And your job? Is it real? Have you thought about teaching music, maybe?" Once, in the fluorescence of my own loneliness, I almost bought a plane ticket back to my parents. I wanted forgiveness, or maybe just familiarity, but I stayed. Deep down, I still believed that if I succeeded, if I could make something undeniable, they might finally hear me. Curitiba bloomed into neon and thunder. The world changed, and so did I. News came quietly. A series I designed sound for was nominated for a South American Media Award. Another documentary took off online, reaching 500,000 views in a week. I Skyped with directors in other countries, translated notes, built weird, beautiful soundscapes in 12-hour bursts. My fingers grew calloused, not from piano, but from twisting dials, scrubbing hiss, rebuilding the world sound by sound. Still, recognition meant little when I walked alone through Largo da Ordem, headphones guarding me like armor. Sometimes, I watched old classmates slip into careers, posting pictures of their glimmering weddings, classical recitals, grinning families. None of that looked like mine. 3 years after the jury meltdown, my mother called. There was an anniversary at the old community center, a celebration of Curitiba's arts and youth. She sounded nervous. "The city asked if you'd like to present something. I told them you moved away for work." They insisted. I wanted to say no, to stay safe in my bubble. But something in her voice, a fragile hope, pushed me to say yes. I prepared the only way I knew how, by listening. I spent nights walking old corridors, pocket recorder in hand, capturing the heartbeat of a city most people ignored. I mixed cafeteria chatter with buskers whistling. I interviewed people, the baker on my street, a cleaning lady humming a lullaby into her mop, a mechanic wearing tools on a rusted bicycle. I edited until dawn, eyes raw, ears burning. My family called less. When my mother finally called again, her voice was small. "Your father wants to know what you'll do. Nothing too strange, please." I told her, "Just listen. That's all I ask." The night of the event, Curitiba's clouds threatened rain but held off. the city buzzing in anticipation. The old recital hall, done up with white balloons and plastic folding chairs, looked smaller than I remembered. My hands trembled just like they did years ago, though now it was from hope, not shame. I entered quietly, a black backpack slung over my shoulder, audio gear inside. My sister was there already, sitting in the family's usual row, fiddling with her phone. My father waited by the door. He didn't hug me. He patted my shoulder, awkward and cautious. "So it's your big night, huh?" he said, without looking directly at me. "Everyone's excited." I could tell he wasn't. He wore his doubts like a suit and tie. The hall filled up. Old neighbors, classmates, faces I knew from a lifetime of shared silence. The community leaders called me to the front after 3 ballet solos and a local guitar teacher's medley of Beatles songs. I stood backstage as the MC announced, "E agora, uma experiência sonora feita por nossa própria filha da cidade, Amanda." The crowd clapped politely. I wheeled out my gear, a mixer, 2 battered speakers, my laptop, and a projection screen. I took a breath. I looked for my parents, their eyes tired, expectant, maybe even scared for me. "Boa noite," I started. The microphone felt cold and heavy. "Tonight I want to show you Curitiba, the way I hear it. Not just music, but sound, your sounds, our story." I pressed play. Warm city dawn, birds waking up among tiled rooftops, the clang of the number 9